sides for Terence.
But you've been in there with both of them.
Yeah.
That's what everybody.
So you should be able to tell us.
Come on, you tell me.
Yeah, I mean, you've been in there with both of them.
You betting, right?
No,
I'm betting, so I'm trying to make some money.
No, I listen. Once I get that money from the white folks, I don't give it back to nobody else. I keep it to myself.
I haven't heard white folks since my daddy died.
Yeah.
Honestly, as a fighter myself, I would bet on the pressure of Errol Spence Jr. If I was going to bet, I would bet on the pressure of Errol Spence Jr. because I fought that kind of style, and so I know where it could lead you to. But Terence has a whipping right hand, and he got a whipping left hand. You know what I mean? What I mean by that is he got power in both hands. There's no telling which way he's going to come out, which way he's going to stay, whatever the case may be. He has the ability to turn and get Errol to move his feet, get him off balance. Terence has the ability to punch in between the shots, which I think he's going to that's where he's going to have his most success is when.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack, coming to you live, Boxingego unpack, yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack, coming to you live. Did Shawn Porter just switch his pick for the infamous super fight, undisputed, Errol Spence, hey, stop that cat, versus Terence Crawford? Let's get unpacked. We unpack, coming to you live. Now, the clip I played from the beginning was from Shawn Porter's podcast. And you heard Shawn Porter. He says, since I'm a fighter and I know fighting, if I were betting, I'm betting on Errol Spence. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe in past recent interviews prior to this that Shawn Porter was leaning towards and picking Terence Crawford. I think, don't quote me on this, but I do believe that he said, gun to my head, if I had to pick, I would pick Terence Crawford. So it was a bit surprising that the same conversation, the same question comes up now, and he seems to feel a different way. Now, I know he kind of cleaned it up at the end, and you guys heard that he started trailing on and kind of going on about Terence Crawford. He has whipping power in his left and right hand. He can catch Errol Spence off balance, this, that, and the third. But that's not what you initially said. Like, what you initially said when the question came up was, if I had to bet, I would bet on Errol Spence's pressure. So to me, I mean, I look at psychology. I've taken some psychology in college. I try to look at body language, just human behavior, linguistics, things like that. And to be honest, I feel like that other stuff, when people's, like, basically when people make the comment and then add a bunch of filler at the end, to me, it just kind of feels like it's just that, it's filler. Like you're trying to sugarcoat it almost. And that's what it kind of felt like. It felt like he's leaning towards Errol Spence. Errol Spence being a pressure fighter. I've always said that. He's a boxer puncher, but he's very insanely strong. He's a pressure cooker, and he knows how to get to guys. So it did sound like Shawn Porter is now switching. Now, I'm not saying Shawn Porter is going to, I haven't talked to him or anything. I'm not going to say he's going to go out and wager money or anything, but he says if he were to bet, that he would bet on Errol Spence. And then he kind of cleaned it up, like I said, at the end, stating that Terence Crawford has whipping power and this, that, and the third. And, you know, maybe he can catch Errol Spence off balance and the rest of his breakdown. But I'm focusing on the first things out of his mouth when the question came out. He's picking Errol. He would bet on Errol because of the pressure style. Now, I've made a detailed video for you great people. I appreciate all of the love and all of the support you guys are showing. On the screen, you will see a list of people who've sent super thanks. It really allows me to do more on the channel and expand my wings, basically bring more fire content to you guys also. Shout out to everybody on that front. As far as people almost changing their pick, Bernard Hopkins, another person that comes to mind. A lot of people want to know, is Ego surprised? The great Ego Stradamus is not surprised. Here's why. I predicted this. And I even tweeted it. I've said it multiple times, but I tweeted, I said, I find it hilarious that many of the boxing legends were adamantly picking Terence Crawford last year when negotiations were slow and dragging. Breakdowns as if Errol Spence stood not a chance. Now that the fight is signed, sealed, and delivered with press conferences, many of those are switching sides, picking Errol Spence, or now talking about Errol Spence can win if he does this, that, and the third. So I was dead on the money when I said that, and I said it and I meant it, and now you're seeing it. You're seeing multitudes of people, and even people like Tim Bradley. He hasn't outright, to my knowledge, came out and switched his pick. He still says he's picking Terence Crawford. However, he sounds worried and he sounds a lot more doubtful, which we'll get into in a second. But he said initially, keep in mind, before the fight was announced. So the fight, this was last year in limbo. There's several videos where Tim Bradley said that he picks Crawford easy and it's going to be a knockout. Crawford will knock out Errol Spence. More recent interviews, like his one on Max in Boxing, Max said, oh, who do you favor, or whatever the question was, in Spence Crawford. Bradley responded by saying, you know, Max, I'm really worried about the Las Vegas judges because the judges in Vegas, sometimes they get it wrong and robberies and fixed, and basically made it sound like PBC, Al Heyman, Showtime have it in for Terence Crawford and the Vegas judges, and it's all rigged. And then he goes to illustrate how Crawford is a slow starter and Errol Spence is a fast starter, and Crawford can't get behind and need a knockout to win. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because if a fighter is a slow starter, then that's really not a bad judging situation. You can't blame the judges because they give Errol Spence early rounds if he's doing the better work early. So Bradley was all over the place. And just based on the fact that there's a level of certainty that he doesn't sound like he has, lets me know that he has doubts about who he's picking. Again, some people, they say things and they're willing to go down with the Titanic. You know, they're going to die on that hill and they won't come out and change it. So July 29th, it's a big fight. I can't wait. It's Judgment Day. Finally, everybody, all these opinions, all these predictions will finally be put to bed. And that's the beauty of my sport, the sport of boxing, is he said this, she said this, they said that. None of it really matters. When they enter that square circle, the fans can't fight for you. The commentators can't fight for you. Old media can't fight for you. Your team can't fight for you. And it's just mano y mano and the two fighters in there to settle it as men or women and get a verdict. So I love moments like this in the sport of boxing because it just solidifies and ends the argument. That's why we needed Mayweather versus Pacquiao, because imagine if they didn't fight, Mayweather and Pacquiao would still be an argument because we never got to see it. So some fans would contend that Pacquiao would have beat Mayweather up or knocked him out and this, that. Others would be like, no way, you're crazy. Floyd Mayweather all the way, Floyd all day. But we would have no conclusion. So salute to Terence Crawford, salute to Errol Spence, because finally, you know, we're going to get our conclusion. We're going to get our Judgment Day. But I just find it funny that people are switching and people are said one thing and almost sounded very convinced of Terence Crawford. And then now they're backing off the blocks, which leads me to this point. We unpacked. If you really think about it, many of these previous Crawford predictors and predictions were just last year, in the second half of last year, when PBC and Crawford were in negotiations this last time, the time that fell out when Crawford pulled out of negotiations and said, I'm fighting on Black Planet against David Avalanche, right? That was the last time where there are a lot of predictions, a lot of people were asking, because it was kind of up in the air at that point if Crawford would sign on and would PBC get the fight done with Errol Spence. So in those looser videos, you heard people like Bernard Hopkins and Tim Bradley, and they were giving their opinion. Even, like I said earlier in this video, Shawn Porter. Shawn Porter said, gun to my head, I would pick Crawford, right? All these things. And then now as we gear up to the fight, people seem to be getting cold feet. And I'm just wondering why, based on the fact that nothing has really changed. From that point, if anything, Terence Crawford fought more recently than Errol Spence. He fought in December against David Evanescence. So David Evian got knocked out. So you got to see Crawford in action. We haven't seen Errol Spence back, so he's on a longer layoff. He hasn't fought since his unification with Yordenis Ugas. So in terms of sheer activity, Crawford has had more recency in his December, I think it was December 6th, December 10th fight against David Adolescence, right? So he won by knockout. All of his fights at welterweight were knockout wins. Some of these points are what the people that were picking Crawford said they were picking Crawford for. So none of that has changed. So why would any of these people who really acted like Errol Spence couldn't win it, why are they switching now? Like what? I'm just curious. I would love to be a fly on the wall to see what changed in their brain that makes you switch your pick when Crawford is the favorite, Errol Spence is the underdog. They both look like they're training hard based on their pictures and videos that are being leaked. We got to see him sized up at the press tour. You know, it didn't look like Crawford was like, you know, like what Gamboa was to Crawford in terms of a height disparity. Crawford's still a hell of a fighter. He has all knockouts. So I'm just wondering what changed with all these boxers, trainers, and legends. And again, I think it is they didn't believe what they said they believed, and they did, or at least at the very least, they didn't believe it as confidently as they made it out to be. And now the reality is setting in because we're 3 weeks away from the actual fight. And now you want your interviews to be crispy closer to the fight because people will remember that over remembering something maybe you said last year. But me, I always come with the receipts. I remember what you said in general, not just this year, but what you said 6 months ago, 6 minutes ago, last year. It doesn't matter. I'm unpacked. But all in all, it's an amazing fight. Shout out to PBC and Al Heyman for getting it done. And it will answer a lot of questions. Point blank, period. Everyone has a variance of an opinion. Some people are saying, my thing is this, what I hope boxing fans can take away from this is just be more realistic in the sport of boxing. Like, even though I said I was leaning towards and picking Errol Spence recently, I'm not counting out Crawford like he has no chance. I never said that. You see what I'm saying? But you got emotional boxers, emotional boxing fans, and they have these passion breakdowns. These ain't real breakdowns. They're betting because they know the person. Like a lot of the boxing legends, like maybe they have a better relationship with Terence Crawford. They kicked it with him at the Hall of Fame, you know, or they had dinner with them or played basketball with them or paintball or whatever the situation is. They have a different relationship. Errol's kind of an outsider because, I mean, I think he kind of is more of a homebody. He's with his family or people on his team like Jermell, Frank Martin, you know, probably spend some time Ryan Garcia and Joshua. So he's kind of an outsider because I don't know. I don't know Errol's whole life, but just from what I've seen, I don't see him going to all the boxing Hall of Fame events and, you know, rubbing elbows like some people. And I get it, you know, it's networking, but not all people want to do that. And Errol Spence, he kind of just, the best time to maybe catch him is at the fight. You might be able to catch him at a fight. But outside of that, I don't see him going to like certain boxing fraternities and congregations and things like that. So I think he's a little bit outcast. So you have some of the boxing legends and they're leaning on their relationship more than the actual prediction. That's why I told you, I have yet to hear someone say why Crawford will win with a breakdown that I can even understand and comprehend. Like, not saying he's not a good fighter, but the breakdowns aren't, oh, Crawford does this. They're like, oh, he's gonna box him at range and he's a switch hitter. It's just like super generic stuff. Like, the reality is the switch hitting is great, but it's not even wise to switch hit with the southpaw to keep doing it. You know what I mean? Because you get just different trajectories as opposed to orthodox. Beyond that, Crawford, in my opinion at least, is much better as a southpaw himself. So him as an orthodox fighter he's more mid as an orthodox fighter than he is as a southpaw. He's spectacular. You see what I'm saying? So I don't really see him going in and out and these metamorphoses and ambidextrous. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he can show me that on July 29th or whatever, but I don't really see it. That's why I'm leaning towards Errol Spence. I'm picking Errol Spence, however you want to frame it. Funny to see people laboring back and forth and like people who seem bullheaded in the fact that like they thought Terence Crawford wins by knockout stuff, now pump the brakes and double back and come a little bit more correct with their breakdowns and assessments as we gear closer to the fight. I find that funny. We unpacked. Introducing Super Thanks. Right here on the official Boxingego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with the $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new interactive and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.